Welcome back to the channel, folks. You're used to hearing tales of the dark side, stories of those who walk the thin line between right and wrong. But today, we're flipping the script. We're taking a look at the men who, despite the patches they wear and the reputations they carry, are sometimes the only line standing between innocence and injustice. This is a story about the Bandidos Motorcycle Club, a quiet street corner, and a moment that changed a young boy's life forever. The setting is Elmwood, a small, unremarkable town nestled just off the interstate. It's the kind of place where nothing ever happens, until it does. The Bandidos haven't set up a formal chapter house here, but a few of their members, including the imposing figure of Grizz, the chapter's Sergeant-at-Arms, use a dilapidated old garage as a rendezvous point. They're not here for a turf war or a major operation. Today, they're simply having coffee, working on a few bikes, and discussing the slow grind of club politics. Grizz, a man whose face looks like it was carved from granite and whose hands could crush a wrench, was wiping down his classic Harley-Davidson. Beside him was Reaper, the club's treasurer, younger, but with an intensity in his eyes that matched Grizz's seasoned menace. From their vantage point, the wide-open bay door of the garage, they could see the busy street, and more importantly, the path leading from Elmwood Elementary School. Dismissal time. Most people see the rumble of their engines and cross the street. They see the leather, the patches, the unmistakable 1% diamond, and they see trouble. But what they miss is the code that runs deeper than any public perception, a fierce, protective loyalty, especially towards those who can't protect themselves. It was just another Tuesday afternoon until a flash of movement caught Reaper's attention. A boy, no older than 10, was walking alone, his backpack slung low, kicking at pebbles on the sidewalk. His name was Leo. Leo wasn't causing trouble. He was just trying to get home. But then a sharp, authoritative voice cut through the street noise. "Leo, get back here. You forgot your detention slip." A woman, a teacher from the school, based on her lanyard and demeanor, came rushing out of the school gates. She wasn't just walking. She was marching with an air of frustration. As she reached Leo, her frustration turned into something darker. She didn't guide him, she seized his arm. Not a firm grip, but a violent, wrenching pull. From 50 feet away, even over the idling engines, Grizz heard the boy yelp. It was a sound of pain, yes, but more significantly, a sound of fear. Now, let me tell you something about men like Grizz. They've seen violence. They've inflicted it. They know the difference between discipline and unwarranted aggression. And what Grizz saw was clear abuse of power. The teacher, red-faced and yelling about disrespect, held Leo's small arm in a vice grip, the skin around her fingers whitening. Leo was visibly struggling, eyes wide, trying to pull away, but she only tightened her hold. Reaper's hand instinctively went to the knife holstered on his vest, but Grizz was already moving. He didn't run, he strode. Every step he took was heavy, deliberate, and conveyed an undeniable sense of purpose. When a bandido moves on an injustice, the air itself seems to thicken. The teacher was so focused on chastising Leo that she didn't hear the heavy boots approaching until Grizz's immense shadow fell over them both. "Let go of the kid's arm," Grizz commanded, his voice a low, gravelly rumble that stopped the teacher mid-sentence. The woman spun around, startled. When she saw Grizz, all 6'4" of him covered in patches and leather, radiating an aura of barely contained menace, her face shifted instantly from anger to sheer panic. Who are you? This is school property. This is my student," she stammered, still refusing to release Leo. Leo, seeing the huge, intimidating man defending him, actually tucked himself slightly behind Grizz's leg, a silent plea for protection. Grizz didn't raise his voice, which only made him sound more dangerous. "I said, let go of the kid's arm. You're hurting him." The teacher, relying on her institutional authority, tried to regain control. "You have no right. I am reporting you to the principal. You are trespassing." "Listen closely, lady," Grizz said, taking a step closer, forcing her to look up at him. "I see a small boy in pain, and I see an adult taking advantage of a position of trust to cause that pain. I don't care about your principal, your detention slip, or your authority. All I care about is that you release that child now." The finality in his tone, the unblinking, serious look in his eyes, finally broke her resolve. She released Leo's arm, as if it were suddenly too hot to hold. Leo instantly rubbed his wrist, a red mark already forming where her fingers had dug in. "Now, step back," Grizz instructed. The teacher backed away, her hands shaking, pulling out her phone, likely to call the police. But Grizz didn't care. His attention was solely on Leo. He knelt down, bringing his massive frame closer to the boy's level, a rare display of gentleness from a man known for his brutality. "You okay, son?" he asked, his voice softening just a fraction. Leo nodded timidly. "Yes, sir, thank you." "You shouldn't be grabbing kids like that," Reaper chimed in from behind Grizz, having followed him out. His tone was sharp, judgmental. "You're supposed to be teaching him, not terrorizing him." The teacher just stood there, speechless, phone pressed to her ear, watching as the outlaws became the guardians. They didn't just walk away once the immediate threat was gone. Grizz stayed kneeling, asking Leo if he felt safe walking home alone, if this kind of incident had happened before. He wasn't just solving a problem, he was assessing a pattern of potential danger. This is the side of the bandidos they don't put in the papers. This is the truth behind the patch. They protect the innocent, not because of a duty to society, but because of a deep, almost primal code of justice. They are the boogeymen of the highway, yes, but when the system fails, sometimes you need the boogeyman on your side. Grizz and Reaper didn't call the police. They became the police. They escorted Leo 2 blocks until they saw him safely inside his house, watching until the door closed. The situation was far from over. A teacher had been exposed, a child had been rescued, and the bandidos had just put a target on their back in Elmwood. What will happen when the police show up? Will they protect the teacher? Or will they listen to the witnesses that the bandidos are about to find? And how will the bandidos ensure that Leo never has to face that kind of fear again? We're just getting started. We left off with Grizz and Reaper watching young Leo disappear safely behind his front door, a small act of mercy set against the backdrop of their intimidating presence. But their intervention had set wheels in motion. As expected, the sirens began to wail almost immediately, a familiar sound to men who lived outside the law. Yet today, they were the ones waiting for the police. 2 patrol cars screeched to a halt near the garage. The teacher, still visibly shaken and pointing frantically, was eager to press charges. Officer Miller and Officer Jones, 2 seasoned local cops, approached the bandidos with caution, hands hovering near their weapons. They saw 2 men in club colors, a notorious 1%er club, and a hostile, hysterical school employee. The narrative was, seemingly, already written: intimidation, trespassing, and harassment. "Step away from the vehicle, hands where we can see them," Miller ordered. Grizz, calm and entirely unconcerned, slowly raised his hands. Reaper did the same. "We ain't going nowhere, officer," Grizz rumbled. "But before you make this official, maybe you should talk to the victim," the teacher scoffed. "I am the victim. They threatened me. This is a simple case of criminal trespass." "The victim is the 10-year-old boy you just manhandled," Grizz countered, his eyes fixing on Officer Miller. "Look at his arm. He's got a red mark that'll be a bruise by sundown. If you want a trespassing charge, we'll take it. But you'll be ignoring a clear case of assault on a minor committed by a trusted authority figure." The sheer audacity of a bandido dictating justice caught the officers off guard. Officer Jones walked over to the teacher. "Ma'am, did you grab the boy's arm?" I had to discipline him. He was running off," she stammered, now realizing the gravity of her admission. Grizz took the opportunity to explain, not to defend himself, but to lay out the facts. He described the violent wrenching, the boy's yelp, and the visible distress. He spoke with the cold, precise language of someone who understands the letter of the law, even if he rarely abides by it. He wasn't defending himself against a crime, he was reporting one. The police hesitated. This wasn't the usual back and forth with club members. This was evidence and testimony. Officer Miller then asked, "And you say you saw physical marks on the boy?" "See for yourself," Reaper cut in, stepping forward. "We escorted him home. If you go up to that house, you'll find the kid, Leo. Talk to him, look at his arm. This woman's behavior isn't discipline, it's abuse. And if you let her walk back into that school tomorrow, you're complicit." The officers, faced with a credible allegation of child abuse, a far more serious charge than trespassing, had a choice to make. Ignoring the bandidos, who were now acting as witnesses, would be a dereliction of duty. After a tense exchange, they decided to check the boy's story. Officer Jones stayed with the teacher, who was now weeping, realizing her career was on the line, while Officer Miller headed toward Leo's house. Meanwhile, Grizz, knowing that police procedure can be slow and often favors the established system, was already making his own moves. He pulled out his satellite phone, not a cell phone, but a hardened communication device, and made a call. He wasn't calling a lawyer, he was calling another one-percenter, a club contact with deep roots in local political and, crucially, community organizations. The bandidos often use their networks not just for illicit activities, but for a shadow form of community maintenance. They know who runs the local food drives, who chairs the school board, and who gossips effectively. Within an hour, information was flooding in. Leo's name was whispered in certain circles. It turned out the teacher had a history of overly strict discipline, often bordering on aggression, but her tenure and connections had always shielded her. The bandidos weren't just relying on Grizz's eyewitness account. They were mobilizing a network to find other witnesses. By the time Officer Miller returned from Leo's house, confirming the distinct red markings on the boy's arm and Leo's tearful account of the painful grip, Grizz had a parent on the phone who had witnessed the teacher berating a student aggressively in the school parking lot last month. He didn't threaten them. He simply provided a secure, non-police channel for them to report what they saw, framing it as saving other kids from the same treatment. The pressure became immense. The school district, alerted by calls from Bandido-connected community advocates, was forced to put the teacher on immediate administrative leave pending an investigation. The police, unable to ignore the physical evidence and the growing public outcry the bandidos had quietly orchestrated, formally filed a report to Child Protective Services. Grizz and Reaper, satisfied that they had secured Leo's immediate safety and exposed the toxic environment, simply mounted their bikes. They didn't gloat or demand thanks. That's not their way. Their justice is swift, brutal when necessary, and utterly uncompromising when it comes to the unprotected. They rode off, the rumble of their engines fading as the police officers stood watching, silently grappling with the strange reality that the self-proclaimed outlaws had just done their job for them and done it better. This is the hidden truth about the men who wear the Bandidos patch. They are not heroes in the traditional sense. They are rough, dangerous, and they live by their own laws. But in a world where the system often turns a blind eye to the small injustices, they are the unpredictable, heavy-handed force that steps up when no one else will. They are the guardians of the shadows, turning their infamous loyalty and force against true wickedness. They saw a child in pain, and they became the only true authority that mattered that day. A teacher's bad day became the end of her career, and a terrified boy found the most unlikely protectors he could ever imagine. The Bandidos MC, not the villains, but the last line of defense.